Right, well, hello everyone. It's nice to follow my wife, having spoken. She's the caring and nice face of UKIP. Now here's the angry face of UKIP. Here to talk to you about what I believe is required in the coming months and years. My primary role is a STARS carer, and that occupies a lot of time, and it's something I'm very proud to do. After that, like a couple of my mates here, I'm a European elections candidate for UKIP. Oh no, middle-aged white bloke comes to talk about UKIP and the European elections. How darn boring.
Yeah, it is.
Totally boring. And this is the truth, because it's not just about European elections. That's really, to me, that's just a stepping stone on the way to what really matters. So, UKIP and the EU, yeah, let's get it out of the way. Yes, we want to leave. Is it because we hate foreigners? No. What we want to do is have a situation where we can change our country. Now, you cannot change your country when you don't make most of the rules and regulations. It's that simple. I see a situation where we've got a dark door in front of us, and it's marked EU. We smash that door down, come out the other side, and we can start looking at ways to improve our country with the freedom to make our own choices. Unlike the caricature that the media will portray, that does not necessarily mean that we are going to make everything a more grim, hard, tough place. Just because we want to get rid of the European Court of Human Rights doesn't mean we don't believe in human rights. It simply means we believe in our British people's definition. That could be a whole lot better. That could be a whole lot more specific to what we want. This is about freedom for the British people to make our own laws, our own rules, our own regulations. You know, I might well be on one side of an argument, you guys on another. If I lose it, and it's done in a democratic British context, okay, I'll take it. That's what democracy is all about, surely. However, at the moment, if I'm one side of an argument and you guys are another, and I lose, I'll take it to the European Court of Human Rights and see what they say. That's not, to me, true representative British democracy. That's not what I care about. I care entirely about freedom. I care entirely about democracy. That's all I care about. I believe that the British people have shown through generation after generation that we can make our own way and we can make our own rules and we can be darn good at it. However, what we've got to now is a situation where we don't do that. And why? Well, because there is this finite amount of our own laws and rules that we can make now. All the main political parties appear very similar. Now I'll tell you, the activists aren't, the grassroots aren't. They are very, very different people, and I come across a lot of them, as many of you probably do, out knocking doors, out and about, being active in campaigning. You'll see, good grief, a Conservative activist and a Labour activist, you know, they can't stand the sight of each other. They're totally different. However, because the leadership of those parties have realised there's only so much they can do, and all they're doing, and here's a little insight as someone who once worked for the Conservative Party, throw things at me.
I do
often do. All they care about is the views of a small number of people in a small number of target seats. That's what the focus groups are for, folks. So you'll see legislation going through and you think, why are they bothering with that? Well, I don't understand that. Well, that's because a survey of 1,000 people in the 30th closest seat in the country have suggested that that might just sway their vote. So these tiny changes that they make are all about focus groups. It's not real democracy. And then you look at the leadership of these parties. Well, I'll start with the easy one, Nick Clegg, who is a man who, frankly, has no interest in anything other than his own personal position. His own party despise the man. His own activists despise him. He made one strong promise before the last election. Tuition fees, what a dreadful thing. And then what's the first actual strong material thing he does? He joins with the Conservatives to put them up. The man is a complete liar. Then you've got David Cameron, a man who is terrified, being chased by the shadow of what the Conservative Party used to once mean. He's frightened to death of what conservatism means, principle in other words. He hates any form of principle. Again, he's a man who believes he was born to rule. So anything he can do to maintain his position in number 10 Downing Street, he'll go against absolutely everything that even his own supporters believe in. A classic example is HS2. HS2 scything through our countryside, through our green and pleasant land. At the same time as that, he makes it easier to build on the green belt. Now, maybe I'm naive, but I thought Conservatives were supposed to be protecting that kind of thing. Maybe not. Maybe that goes hand in hand with his other policies, whereby he feels that it's important that his father-in-law is paid a large sum of money to have wind farms on his land. Maybe that just fits in with his whole rural approach. Being a townie, I wouldn't understand. But you've got Cameron doing these things, totally unconservative. And then, Mr. Miliband. Well, Mr. Miliband, who tells us that the Labour Party, he wants to be the saviour of the middle class. He wants to be the saviour of the middle class. Now, again, maybe I'm being naive. I thought the Labour Party was a working class movement, all about looking after the working classes. No. And when we had a Labour government, of which Mr. Miliband was part, we had these things, these PFI initiatives, where they, by the back door, have privatised large portions of the NHS. I used to be a hospital governor. And now, at Dudley Hospital, where I was a governor, on a 50-year contract, a private monopoly tells that hospital how much it's going to charge for every single service within it. The car park there, where the sick and ill in one of the most deprived areas of our country are charged £5, £6, £7 to visit their relatives, or to go to an appointment, or even the nursing staff, who, let's face it, aren't exactly overpaid, have to pay these large sums of money. That's owned by the private finance provider. Not a penny of that money goes to them, to the hospital. It goes into the pockets of shareholders. And then you have an add-on from that, because the car park don't afford to park on it, so they're parking in the street. And the latest thing that we've had is that the Dudley Council have said that they're going to charge people £95 a year to have a parking bay outside their house. So they're charging people road tax twice. This is not. I know we're not at time now, darling, can I speak?
No.
This is not what you would expect from a Labour government, and in Dudley a Labour council. What we've got is a state overpowering everything. The state has become not just our nanny, as the old cliche goes, the state has become our master. We had the ridiculous example of a young lad disciplined and suspended from school for 4 or 5 days, I think it was, because in his lunchbox was found, were they the little cheesy biscuits?
Cheese cheddars.
Cheese cheddars found in his lunchbox. That's unhealthy. You can't eat them. Hang on a minute. Hang on, that's not for the state or the school to tell people that. That is not a disciplinary issue. When we start to nationalise the care of our children, we're no longer independent and free. When we've got a situation that we fall foul of often in this party, because we try to be straight talking, where political correctness is used as a weapon to hammer us over the head, that is entirely about suppressing free speech. Entirely. Now, you may not realise this from my dulcet accent, but I didn't go to Eton. I know it's hard to believe. And my education was inner city Wolverhampton Comprehensive. So when I say something, I stumble over the words. I might not find the right words, and if I get really passionate about it, I'm going to probably say something I don't exactly have the right interpretation for. But you know what I mean, until it's on the front page of the Daily Mail, done in a different way. with someone from the Labour Party saying, what a disgrace, or someone from the Tory Party saying, oh, these people are racists, oh, shocking. When sometimes all you've got to say is, I believe in controlled immigration. A statement that seems fairly reasonable. Now, controlled immigration could mean more. It could mean less. It entirely means what it says, controlling it, making sure that people who come in offer something to the country, and we've got the infrastructure to deal with them, the schools, the hospitals.
Like
To me,
Australia.
like Australia. What a dreadful country that must be. But when you say these things, you become suddenly labelled as a dreadful person. And it's a hobby horse of mine, and I go on and on about it, and I want to keep on going on about it, because it's constantly used to stop us engaging in open debate. Because once you label someone, they're a racist, they're a homophobe, they're a this, they're a that, you don't listen to what their next sentence is. You don't. You know, someone walked into this room now, and we'd all seen a headline about him saying what a dreadful racist they were. I'd probably with you, I think, oh, sorry mate, I don't want to hear what you've got to say. You're outside, you're beyond the pale. They're doing this all the time. And it's this state with their parties and their friends in the media and the establishment who are all about this. What UKIP is about is a very, very simple thing. And it is about a lot of the things that Starr said about caring for people, but it's much, much more than that, but it's in one word. One word that has become almost a cliche, and it's not used enough, but it's the most important word you could ever use. Freedom. And it's freedom of thought, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom to be who you wish to be, as long as you are not harming the rest of us. And that is entirely what this party is about. We want to break down these rules, these barriers, these over-regulations that stop us doing the things that we want to do as free British people. And to be British is a wonderful honour and a privilege. And I don't just mean being born here. If you come to this country and you love this country, as far as I'm concerned, you're British, and you've got every right to the respect of a British person. As long as you love our country and you care about its people, fantastic. That doesn't matter what colour you are, or what race or ethnicity or religion. That's irrelevant. You're welcome to your religion or to none. That's Britain. What a great place. Now I tell you, this place, this country called Britain that we're talking about now and that we all love, otherwise we wouldn't be in this room, this country in 2014 has its problems, it has its issues, but it's still the single best place in the world to live, to do business, to bring up a family. Britain is a wonderful place. Look from here. Look forward 5, 10 years. Just imagine a scenario. There's no longer a UKIP. We've come to this set of elections, we've fallen. We've had a jolly good time on the way. Blimey, we've been in the pub and we've all had a beer. Oh, we've had a great time. And we've lost. And as it's gone on, everything's reverted back to normal. People have took their choice between voting for blue Europe or red Europe or orange something. And they've carried on. 5, 10 years down the line, regulations continue. Freedom becomes further and further eroded. Parties like UKIP actually become banned because they're dangerous to the economy. They keep on calling to leave the EU. Don't they realise the millions of jobs that are at risk? Don't they realise the share price could fall? We can't have this. The global corporations don't like it, do they? And all that will happen is you no longer have a country that you would know as Britain. You have a trading area across the whole of the European Union where conditions are the same, wages are the same, regulations are the same, labour can move freely from Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, all across this great big mass. And it's all more or less the same, and it's all perfect for large corporations to do business in. And you can spend your suppressed, often minimum wage, on anything you like, as long as it's what they tell you to. And you can believe whatever you like. as long as it's within the set parameters. And it's, before you know it, and a friend of ours gave a speech, and it was perfect, where he said, if something's stolen from your house, and you come home, you see it's gone and you miss it. But in 10, 15 years time, 20 years time, you've had kids, you still live in the same house, and they're walking around, and they don't look at that place on the mantelpiece where the nice vase was that's been stolen, because they never knew it was there. So they don't know what they've lost. It's gone, and they'll never ever get it back. But what's worse, they won't even think to fight for it, because they won't know it's gone. It's brilliant. There's this dark view of the future. Or I'll give you another one. And here's a better one. And I think this is one that we might be a bit more cheerful with. Everyone in this room, and everyone outside it, and all our friends and family and relatives, we all think, right, I've had enough. Sick of this. Not going to put up with this anymore. One of the great things about the British people is we've put up with this so much for so long, and then when we decide we've had enough, by God, don't we stick up a fight about it? The time has now come for this fight to start. A democratic revolution. An absolute change in our country. And the beauty of it is, we can make it happen. All we've got to do is get ourselves organised, get ourselves motivated, get council candidates into place all across this area and every other one, unite and work with the teams of MEP candidates and with the leadership of Nigel Farage, Paul Nuttall and the rest. Push forward telling people that UKIP is about a set of common sense policies all revolving around freedom. We'll talk about some of them later, I'm sure, during questions, where we have direct democracy. We give people the chance to vote on the matters that really concern them. Where we break down state control, but we still keep support for those who need it. And we get out there and we fight together. And then come the 23rd of May, the day after the local council elections, we all wake up a bit bleary-eyed. We might have had a drink or two to celebrate.
We might not have been to bed because of the count.
We might not have been to bed because of the count. But then the next day, we look round and we think, wow, something's changed. Hundreds of councillors across this country have been elected under UKIP, and guess what? They haven't got a whip system. So no one's telling them what they can and can't do. They can go and talk to the people and say what matters in this area, and the people can tell them. The people can be the ones controlling the politicians. How about that for an idea? Mm-hmm. Right? That can be what we can be looking at. And then a couple of days later, when across Europe all the votes are counted, guess what? We won the European elections, and we're sending back scores of UKIP MEPs to Brussels who are going to go there, say, we don't want part of this rubbish, find out what's going on, come back to this country, inspire more people, and then we go forward to that big one. 2015. The single most important election in the history of modern British democracy. I say that without any fear of contradiction, because if the forces of the combined British people fighting for freedom cannot win seats in that one, the future does not look so good. But if we win seats in that one, I promise you, everything changes, everything's up for grabs. We have a future again. And you can look in years to come and you say to your children, your grandchildren, or anyone else who you want to it, back in 2014 and 2015, I played a part in the fight back that eventually saved our country. And what's more, it didn't just save our country, it brought freedom back to the British people. And what a one beautiful single achievement in your life, or any of our lives that would be, to say that you played a part in that. And on that note, I will thank you for coming tonight. We will be here to answer some questions. We've got two other MEP candidates here, Michael and Jim, who are very well versed in all policy, and will be happy to help and answer any questions. But I do say to you, and I mean this genuinely, myself, Star, the rest of the team across this area, all of us are working every second that God gives us to try and push this forward. None of us are paid. This is not politicians getting fat on the rump of things. I'm fat because I'm fat. Right? This is
Too much Ruby Mild.
too much real ale, but it's all paid for by myself. I'll tell you that none of us are doing this because we like the lifestyle. We're all doing it because we truly believe in it. And so it's the same with your local team. So please, folks, enjoy the rest of the night. Hit us with every question you've got, and when you leave this room tonight, please be in no doubt of what we all stand for, and I hope you'll go forward from there and join us, and we will win this wonderful fight for freedom. Thank you.